Executive Director at Woodcrest Retreat. So glad to have you with us for another fireside chat. Today we're with two very special people, people that I've gotten to know because they're current or very recent staff. We have Micah and Lizzy Martin with us. You want to introduce yourselves to our listening audience?
Sure. I'm Micah Martin. I've been involved at Woodcrest since I was a kid. Came here during the summers as a camper for I think 7 different summers that I was here as a camper, and then got into becoming a staff member, and I believe that I have done 8, maybe 9 summers as a staff member. So pretty much done everything you can do here, except for maybe a couple of the support staff roles, such as like nature instructor. I'm not really big with the animals, but yeah, had a lot of fun doing a lot of different roles over the years, and so yeah, that's a little bit about me and my connection.
Lizzy?
I'm Lizzy. I came as a camper as well when I was little, day camp and overnight, and then I was a day camp counselor for 3 summers and an overnight counselor for 2 summers, and then I took a break, and then I came back last summer as the assistant day camp director.
Great. So has your family been connected to Woodcrest long, or, I mean, I'm assuming we're here as campers, they loved it enough to send you.
Yeah, our church comes, our church, Blainsport Mennonite Church, comes every summer over the 4th of July for church service up in Oakshade, which is a pavilion here. And so I think that's been happening since my mom was a little girl there. And so that probably would have been some of the first connection here. Blainsport's also part of the same district as Ephrata Alive, which was Ephrata Mennonite, which would have founded the camp in the first place. So I would say our church has been involved, and that's how my family kind of got involved. And yeah, I mean, as campers, we were here. My older sister was here as well as a camper. And so yeah, that would probably be our family's involvement somewhat, yeah.
Okay. So you've seen some changes at Woodcrest over those years. Any ones of those that stick out like, we were so excited when that happened?
Well, as day campers, we used to go on the bus to the Calco pool.
Yeah, the Denver swimming pool.
Oh, wow.
Pool. Yeah, once a week, I think.
Just once a week?
Yeah.
And even in overnight camp, we would go there once a week, and that was the second time during the week that you could get a shower.
Yeah.
The first time was you would walk down, all the way down the hill at like 11 at night to take showers here in the Indian Rock Center, which was a lot smaller as well at that point. So we were here before the pool was put in. We were here when we used to play water games just to get some water because there was no pool and you couldn't go there every day. And
we were here when the water slide was cool.
Yeah, the water slide was like the main event. No, it's still a good time, but sort of overshadowed by the pool maybe a little bit. We were also here when this building was about half the size it is now. I remember people throwing water balloons off the roof during Wild Wet Wednesday, which is an overnight camp thing, and now this roof is a little harder to get onto, which might be a good thing, but yeah.
Yeah, and when we were in overnight, the cabins had 3 walls and then a curtain for the 4th wall.
Oh, just a complete curtain, not even like, because now it's like a...
Yeah, so the entire front of the cabins used to just not be there. Seems a little sketchy maybe, but it was very rustic. The Adirondack style of having those cabins was originally.
So over those years, thinking more in terms of your staff years, camp's full of great memories that just like stick in your mind. What are some of the humorous or crazy, but not too crazy that board members listening to this would have issues, but stories that stick in your mind of your years on staff?
One of the memories I have that first jumped out, I think probably when I was like a volunteer day camp counselor, so back in like maybe 2014. I just remember there were these little pod things that you would like throw at people. They like came from some plant and they just stuck onto your clothing or your arms or whatever. And at one point, somebody ended up with a whole mess of them in their hair. And I just remember some staff members sitting and just picking these out of somebody's hair for like an hour, and it probably wasn't an hour. It felt really long at that point. So that was one of those first like, wow, that happened. I was on Saturday. So I don't know.
This is funny stories.
Just memories,
Yeah.
crazy, wild, fun.
I mean, I have a hair story as well. So, as a counselor, one of my many fails, my campers did like, with the friendship bracelet string, they like did hair wraps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one time one of my girls said, "Oh, I don't want it in my hair anymore, can you cut it out?" And I was like, okay, sure, I don't know how to do this. And she was like, just cut the knot. I was like, okay. And so I took the scissors and I cut the knot, but then her entire thing of hair came off too. And I was like, and she was like, what do you mean, you didn't cut my hair off, did you? And I was like, yeah. And so then she was really gracious about it, but this was overnight camp, so I was like waiting till the end of the week. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to like tell her dad when he comes to pick her up, like, hey, I'm so sorry, I cut your daughter's hair off. And as soon as he walked in the cabin, she yelled across the cabin, look, Dad, my counselor cut my hair off. And she like had her hair still. So he was also gracious, it was okay, but yeah.
We don't usually scalp our campers.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. We got the hair wrap out though.
Woodcrest is really centered on community and relationships. How has the Woodcrest community been impactful in your own spiritual walk and journey?
Yeah, I would say Woodcrest is one of the places that, just being here on staff, as a camper as well, but even more so on staff, just one of the places I felt closest to God, and just most encouraged in my walk with the Lord. And I just think Fireside, which is our evening devotion time for overnight camp, counselors pray together for the campers and for each other at the beginning of that, and just building that community there, as well as at the end being able to sit and talk with campers about questions they might be wrestling with, about things that they might be going through, and then sometimes even talking to other counselors and encouraging one another there has just been, I think, really profound.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with all of that. I think some of my closest friendships are people I met on staff, and just really encouraging as I was like in public high school or like going off to college, just to have like that core community that I could always rely on. I knew were praying for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, I met my wife here, so that, like, I don't know if it's the spiritual encouraging as much, but you know, one of those close relationships that was, you know, very impactful in my life.
So the heartbeat of Woodcrest, of course, is our 8 weeks of summer camp where we're bringing kids in to minister. Can you share, for those that are listening, and remind them how valuable camp ministry, like a story or just something that would remind those who are listening that Woodcrest is making a difference because we are sharing the gospel. We're investing in the lives of young people who, some of them may not know the gospel. Any encouraging encounters or reminders of camper experiences that would bless those who are listening?
I mean, I think one thing for me, I started off as a day camp counselor like years ago, and then a lot of day campers will come back like summer after summer, and sometimes for the whole summer, like if their parents are working, they'll come. And I think just like watching them as they come in, sometimes like maybe they've never been to church before, like heard anything about the gospel, and then they'll like go through a year of summer camp, and maybe the first year they'll be like kind of shy and like they might not be super involved in like the Bible lessons and stuff, but just like seeing them year after year, the way that they grow, and like years later they'll be like the ones inviting friends, and they'll be like the first person to say their Bible memory verse, and so I think just like seeing the growth has been really impactful for me.
Yeah, definitely the campers that you see multiple years and that growth. And I've had a couple campers who ended up being on staff then later, and so I would say most of those campers probably came from a church background coming in, but it was a place that they really found powerful encounters with God. But even having campers who didn't come from a church background, who just found something here that was worth coming back for. I've definitely witnessed campers saying like, this was such an amazing experience. And it's not just, oh wow, we played the best games or we had the coolest toys that we got to play with. It was, I had a counselor who cared about me. I was in a totally different environment than I usually am. Nobody was putting me down the whole week. Nobody was, criticizing me for this or that. And they could just be themselves and be a kid and have a good time. But then also to hear that gospel of hope and truth, that there is hope for a broken world. And I've had a lot of campers who came from just very difficult pasts, and some of that just being able to be here and be a kid again, I think was probably really impactful for them.
But any encounters of your years on staff where you just remember God showing up and intervening in a really powerful and momentous way?
I had one week where the whole week 2 of my campers were just bickering, fighting. One moment they'd be kind of friends, and then the next moment they'd be like getting into almost a fist fight. And about an hour before the end of the week, before the parents program that we have to send them home, they got into a little bit of a fight. One of them ripped the other guy's shirt, and it was a special shirt from a parent or something. It just full on meltdown. Camp director went one way after the one kid. I had to go the other way after the other kid, and I just remember like walking after, he's frustrated. He's like, "Stop following me." I'm like, "I can't stop following you. I have to make sure you're safe." And like, and then just it was a terrible, frustrating moment. And I was like, "Oh wow, God, how do we make this happen? How do we make this work?" Because these kids are about to go home and just be mad and frustrated about the whole week. And overall, I thought the week went pretty well for them, but this terrible moment at the end. And I ended up getting to just sit and talk with a camper who shared some really heavy things about his home life and just feeling like nobody wanted him, and just the opportunity to sit and talk with him and share, that I cared about him, that God cared about him, and really have that connection. And then I was like, oh man, this was rough, So I'm trudging back to the pavilion, like we're getting ready for the parents program, and here the 2 campers had made up and like were giving each other high fives and stuff at the end, and like they left going, "This was an amazing experience. I'm so glad I came here." And just from being just this complete mess that I thought, oh man, that was the worst possible thing that could have happened, to just like a turnaround within like an hour. That was a pretty incredible experience, I would say.
What would you say to someone who is like thinking about coming on staff for a summer, but they're not sure? Like, what words of encouragement or invitation would you offer them?
Go for it. I mean, it's going to be a trying experience, but it's probably going to be one of the best experiences of your life. And I mean, you're going to form close relationships with your fellow staff. You're going to get challenged in your walk with the Lord and grow through it. And you're going to have to learn, like Lizzy said, you're going to be in situations where you have to realize you can't do it all on your own, and you're going to learn to rely on God and to rely on other people. But through it all, I mean, you're going to have just an amazing experience. And who knows, maybe it will lead to more summers, or maybe it'll lead to a significant other, or maybe it'll lead to, who knows. So I would definitely encourage you to just go for it. It's maybe taking a risk somewhat, but I think it's one that will pay off in a huge way.
I would say also go for it. Make sure your motivation is right. If it's going to be hard and it will be fun, but you shouldn't just come work at camp because you want to have a fun, easy summer. Because it will be challenging, and the point of camp is to disciple campers. So make sure that's your main goal.
What do you think is a strength of Woodcrest in its ministry? I mean, there's lots of camps out there. What enables us or helps us at Woodcrest to be effective? And kind of maybe, I wouldn't say set us apart from other camps, but what is what Woodcrest does well?
Yeah, I think personal connections and relationships between counselors and campers, that it might not be this all the time for every situation, but overwhelmingly I think campers feel like their counselor cares about them, like they know them, like they're not just another camper that the counselor, I have to deal with this person, or okay, fine, I'm with you for this week and we just got to get through all these activities. But I think there's really an emphasis on building that relationship and building that, that just camaraderie.
I guess in the everyday, I say, just like counselors with their campers, just doing everyday things. It's not like we have like a crazy zip line or like, I don't know, anything crazy, but that's not what kids need. They just need someone to care for them, and Woodcrest has that.
Although I heard next year you're putting in a ski lift to take campers to the top of the mountain, is that?
Yeah.
So I mean,
we applied a grant.
That pretty much sets Woodcrest apart from every other camp. Yeah, that was a joke.
One of the things I often say is that quality time comes amidst quantity time. And just spending as much time as you can with the campers one-on-one or in small groups allows God then to just sort of naturally create those moments where you can have that conversation. I think Woodcrest does really well, particularly for overnight with campfire meals and Bible times, but even day camp. There's so much of that is just centered around that small group of campers and the counselor and that relationship, which is so key. Any last minute thoughts, as we wrap this up, things that come to mind, like, I think of Woodcrest, this is what comes to mind, or this is what keeps me connected to the ministry. And even though you're both older now and have possibly moved on for summer camp, what is it that you think is going to keep you connected to and belonging to this ministry?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just really believe in the mission and the ministry that happens here. That it meant a lot for me as a camper and as a staff member, but this wasn't like the only primary place where I was encountering God. This wasn't the only place for me that I had people speaking truth into my life, but for some campers it is. And so I think being able to reach as many campers as possible with the gospel, and being able to just provide a safe and welcoming place for those campers, that they know that whatever's going on at home, they can come. They can be a kid. They can encounter people who care about them, who love them, who want them to know God, and want them ultimately, to not just have a fun time, but possibly find eternal salvation. And I mean, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Woodcrest is very genuine in its mission, and it's not just, I don't know, just for kids to spend their time over the summer, or like just childcare or anything. Like, I think that the staff in the community is really intentional, and I've experienced it as a camper and as a counselor. And so I want that to continue forward for the next generation of campers.
I like to say that camp is a place where you have fun for the glory of God. It's not just fun for fun's sake, but each of those games, each of those are there to create an environment where people can experience the wonder of God. So, well, thank you guys for taking some time, sharing, and allowing me to connect with you and hear your stories, and allowing those out there to hear them as well. We invite you to stay tuned for future episodes of Fireside Chats as we continue to connect with people from our past and our present as we look ahead to the future. Thank you very much.